Welcome to The Hidden Load for the educators and leaders in medicine who hold everyone up. We will tackle the hard topics and help you conquer your chaos and get to calm, all by starting to acknowledge and remove that hidden load. This podcast is a space for us to name the things that are common but not normal. Each week, we'll look at the invisible weight you're carrying and explore practical coaching-based tools to help you find more calm, better boundaries, and a sense of purpose that doesn't require you to run on empty. I'm so glad that you've carved time out for yourself today. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back to The Hidden Load. I am your host, Dr. Santina or Tina Wheat. Now, in the house of medicine, we have a name for ignoring our own physical needs. We call it professionalism. We are trained from day one to power through our 24-hour calls, our skipped meals, and the chronic stress of high-stakes decision-making. We often treat our bodies like high-performance machines that don't really require maintenance, only more fuel. And unfortunately, that is not great. And so today, we are looking at the biological bill that eventually comes due. This episode is episode number 22, The Powering Through Myth, How Our Professional Culture Sabotages Our Metabolic Health. As someone with a strong family history of diabetes, I know the hidden load of clinical leadership isn't just mental. It's also metabolic. And my guest today, Jenny Pena, knows this transition from the inside out. Before we dive in, a quick but important reminder for my fellow clinicians. While we are discussing metabolic health and diabetes prevention from a coaching and leadership perspective today, this conversation is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and it does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Please consult your own primary care physician before making significant changes to your medical regimen, especially if you are currently managing a chronic condition. Today, we are discussing how to manage blood sugar and prevent type 2 diabetes without the all-or-nothing extremes that simply don't work for a busy clinician's life. We are talking about boundaries, the physiology of stress, and why your self-care is actually a leadership strategy. So in today's episode, I am really excited to welcome Jenny Pena. She is a health coach who is specializing in diabetes prevention, blood sugar management, and weight loss, helping men and women with prediabetes lower their A1C, balance their blood sugar, regain energy, and focus and lose weight with or without GLP-1s to prevent type 2 diabetes without giving up their favorite foods or spending hours in the gym. Well, I think this is so important, and it's so hard to think about how are you taking care of yourself while you are also working such a high impact job. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
I like to start by talking first about a hidden load. All of us experience hidden loads in different ways. And if you don't mind sharing, what is the hidden load that you feel like you are carrying every day?
I mean, for me, finding that balance, because I have a 7-year-old that is on the spectrum. He has autism. So that takes parenting to a different level, right? In
Sure
terms of
does.
like your responsibilities and the challenges and the type of support that he needs. I mean, he's doing amazing and he's thriving in school, but understanding what he needs and finding that balance while still building a business, right? Like I founded my company over 2 years ago. And it was while I'm having like, okay, a full-time job and then taking care of him and navigating transition to kindergarten and all that. So that was a lot to me. And I have to admit that during like probably the first year of me establishing the business and him transitioning, my self-care and the time and the balance was just not there. Like I was overly investing in either the business and sometimes neglecting him, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
over investing the time on him and focusing on him and not focusing on me. And that would get me moody, that would get me tired, that would get me not in my best self. And it took a while for me to realize that, oh, wait a minute, like I need to figure something out and create some sort of balance. And it was when one time he came to me and I kept saying like, I'll talk to you later and let me finish this. And he just said, Mom, you're always working, because I was always at the computer doing something, something for the
So
business,
hard.
something for the webpage.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
um, and that hit me very hard because here is my son trying to get my attention. And I was so hyper focused on the business, which was important, but balance is always key. So that was that load that now I'm still working on it. It's not perfect yet, but I'm trying to create a set of boundaries and schedules that I don't feel that I'm neglecting any part, but I'm actually honoring every aspect of my life in a balanced way. And that is hard at times.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And it's something that I talk about a lot. I even did a whole episode on boundaries. If y'all haven't listened to it, go back and take a listen. But it's hard to start doing boundaries if you've never done them before, and to shift your frame of thought about it, knowing that it's about honoring yourself, honoring your commitments, and not just about saying no to everybody else. So tell me a little bit about how you got into doing this coaching, how you got into supporting people in the prevention of diabetes or when they have prediabetes.
Well, this was something that I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, wow, like this was really not something that I expected. Like, I'm an industrial engineer. I worked in finance my entire life, pretty much. And health coaching was not something that I thought it would be my career at all. But I had my own health journey that I had to go through and trying to navigate that and trying different things, right? Like I got diagnosed with prediabetes when I was in my 20s, which is very unlikely.
So
Most
young. That's
people
so young.
most people actually get that diagnosis when they're older. And that's exactly what I said. I'm like, I'm not old. Like, are you kidding me? That's probably a lab error. And I completely ignored it. And my health habits were not the greatest. I was not eating well. I was thriving in my career, working 12, 14-hour days, traveling for work. So, not much movement, not good sleep. Every pillar of health, if you're familiar with like all these main pillars, all of
Hmm.
them were crumbling, like seriously. So, I ignored it. I was like, "Okay, this is probably a lab," and I'm like, "I'll try to eat more vegetables," and I kept going with my same lifestyle, and then to later on starting to feel like a lot of cravings. I started gaining weight very rapidly, even though I was not technically eating much, but the stress levels and the balance was not there, and then my A1C levels are practically 1 point away from being a diabetic. And that was in a matter of, like, probably a year or maybe a year and a half. When I went to check again, it's like, like, "You need to do something now." So, I had to get on GLP-1s when I was sharing the story on my Instagram, like, before they were actually trendy, right? Like, now everybody
Hmm.
is into that. Like, when I try them, people were not talking about it that much. It was strictly for type 2 diabetes. And
Hmm.
I had to get a metformin, and that was horrible. It gave me horrible side effects. Sometimes I had to like run out of meetings because of GI symptoms. And that was my wake up call. I realized, okay, I don't want to be with this medication forever. I know what it is. My grandmother passed away from a complication with diabetes. And I'm like, okay, and it's running in my family. Then I started looking at all my siblings and cousins, and they all have diabetes. Right now, that's a crown I don't want to wear. And sadly, I have to. I'm the only one from all of them that does not have diabetes. Everybody else has it. That created that wake up call. Then I went into all these different diets and different things and
Hmm.
trying to lose weight,
Hmm.
and none of it was sustainable until I found a doctor that was really more focused not on, okay, look, here's the medication, but you need to work on your lifestyle habits. Like she was really like the one that got me started into, okay, like let's look at how you're eating. Let's get a nutritionist. Let's do this. That's when I discovered, okay, I can do this. And it doesn't have to be that you have to swear off carbs or be at
Hmm.
the gym doing this high intensity workouts every single day and wake up at 3. Like I've heard some people do it. If that's your jam, great. It ain't mine. But if you need to make these changes, it doesn't have to be that all or nothing, that extreme. And I think a lot of us feel that in order to solve anything, we have to go to the extreme. And sometimes the solution is not in the extreme measures, but it's just those simple shifts as long as you
Mhm.
do them consistently. And that's what I started doing. And it took a while. It was not like my A1C like was down to normal in a month, but
Mhm.
it taught me, okay, I can slowly start losing the weight, slowly feeling better. The brain fog was gone. And then I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. And I can do this for the rest of my life. And I can keep up with this set of strategies. And me realizing that, then I saw so many other people that didn't really see a way out. They thought, oh, I have diabetes, so just give me the medication. And there was like no lifestyle change. They saw it as a death sentence. Still to this day, a lot of
Mhm.
clients come and think, oh, like, well, I have diabetes. It runs in my family. So I'm just gonna have it. So might as well, like, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm like, no, you can't do this. You can either delay it or completely like reverse it and lower your A1C levels and prevent a bunch of other things that could create a complication on different systems in your body. And that's how I ended up. I'm like, okay, like I know it can be done. I went through it. I want to help other people do it. And especially while still embracing cultural foods and still incorporating that and not feeling completely restricted or lost or overwhelmed. So that's my story. It started with me, but
Thank you for
didn't
sharing that.
didn't think I was gonna be a health coach or open a company or anything like that. That was not on my list of dreams.
I think that some of the things that you just talked about, I think a lot of my listeners could relate to. Starting in this lifestyle where you were working nonstop, where other things are taking priority over yourself, where your health is potentially the last thing. People joke about the freshman 15 when they go to college, right? But then also I hear people talk about that for like in my physician colleagues when they're in residency, where they're working so hard and not taking care of themselves, or the nurses that I work with when they're on shifts and the way to communicate with each other is to bring food in for the special holidays or different things, it becomes hard to figure out how you're going to take care of yourself. And all of them are in stressful environments, which as you alluded to, when you're in those stressful environments, it's so much harder to lose weight or to follow the strategies sometimes that are necessary. And I really loved that you said that it doesn't have to be perfect, that it doesn't have to be changing absolutely everything, that like the slow and steady wins the race, which I think is so key for all of this. So tell me about when you're working with someone, particularly someone who's in a high stress career. How do you help them shift their mindset around this? How do you help them prioritize themselves as they're going through coaching with you?
Like, I first have to acknowledge, okay, why are these things important, right?
Mhm.
Maybe the career is important. Maybe you're in that point that you're looking for that promotion or you're looking for this thing. It's like, okay, like, and what is like that price almost that you're willing to pay? But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is your goal. However, if it's like a table that has like the legs, if you hyper focus on one, you're not going to
Mhm.
be balanced, right? Like, and a lot of them think, oh, but I need to do this work, so I cannot stop and have lunch because that's 30 minutes that I could be doing something. And yet,
Mhm.
if you actually stop and have a nutritious lunch and take a mental break, you are actually going to be way more productive. And maybe a task that would take you an hour when you're skipping the lunch, you'll probably do it in 20 minutes. So you're
Mhm.
actually creating more momentum by creating that boundary and prioritizing fueling your body. Because you're not like a lot of people, especially with diabetes, and a lot of people think, "Oh, well, I don't have diabetes." I'm like, "But a lot of people have blood sugar dysregulation." And what is
Yes.
that? Like you're going for the cravings. You're skipping breakfast because you're busy. We all know you're busy. Then you go again, you go to your place of work and you find the donuts and the muffins
Mhm.
and you're getting that high carb thing in. 2 hours after, your body's looking for protein. It's like, okay, like where's my fuel? So the energy levels go up and down the same way that that blood sugar goes up and down. and it becomes a roller coaster throughout the day, and it does affect your focus. So if career is like your goal and you're like thinking, okay, I need to do this and I want to thrive, there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe what you're doing, intending that it's going to build that career, is actually jeopardizing that. And it's not only that, but jeopardizing maybe your family, your overall health. If you're sick, if your immune system is weakened and there's a virus going around, you're not going to have that strength to fight that virus. And what is going to happen?
Yeah.
It's going to impact your job. So thinking about, okay, I go through a schedule. And I'm like, look at what does your day look like? Some people say, I don't have time. I'm like, okay, let's think about how the time is. We all have 24 hours. Let's see how it's built. And let's find those pockets where you can either add a mini break. Where can you, if you really believe that I cannot have lunch, I'm like, 15 minutes. I'm like, give me 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at the screen. Don't like step away, go eat for those 15 minutes and then come back. I understand that not everybody can take an hour lunch, but at least whatever time you have, focus. Because again, that short break, it's like giving a massage to your brain. It's like telling your brain to chill. And when you come back, you are going to be more focused. You are going to be more efficient. And then establishing boundaries that I know you mentioned, it is tough, but sometimes you have to say, okay, is this really important? Like this, is it really gonna like burn everything down if I don't do that now? Or can I prioritize and look at everything that I have to do and then see like, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do and the rest can I delegate? If you're a high executive, a lot of my clients are high executives. I'm like, okay, can you delegate? Is it really important? Can you push it for next week? Like, based on what you can control, shift things. If you know you're having a day that is super busy and you know that Mondays are horrible, but Mondays are the days that you probably need to pack lots of healthy snacks. You have to make sure that you have your water next to you. You have to make sure that if you need to go to the bathroom and take deep breaths and practice like box breathing for like a couple of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only place that people are not going to look for you, do that, right? But adjust and control the areas that you can, because to some extent, I think we all can modify some of these things to some extent. And then we build from there. And then we focus on one simple goal at a time, not like changing 10 things, one simple goal at a time. Okay, to this week, we're going to focus on breakfast. Breakfast is your struggle. Let's find easy ways, things that you can grab and go. If you have to buy your food, okay, where do you get your food? What are some combinations? So everything that has to do with planning and making things easier so that you don't have to overthink your decision, but you already have some sort of a plan and then you stick with that. Then you build from there. Then we think about movement or think about hydration. And everybody's different because everybody's
Okay.
areas of struggle can be different, but ultimately, if you support all of that, you are going to thrive in your career. You are going to be less moody with your family. You are going to be more pleasant to be around, most likely, and you are going to do better quality work if that is something that is super important to you.
I love this. I love that how you're connecting this. I love how taking care of yourself is also about achieving your goals. And it's not just your health goals, it is about your sustainability and your career goals. If you're looking for that promotion, it's not going to work if you are hangry and snapping at the people that are evaluating you, right? I'm a person that gets hangry and tells people they're allowed to offer food, but having those snacks around helps prevent it. And I love how you said that it can be an important part of recovery during the day. And that helps with your resilience too, because it can't just to be about powering through. It needs to be about getting through in a way that's intentional and allows you to show up. I tell my residents as your best self. Like, how can we help you show up as your best self? And I love that all of those things that you are sharing help you get to those places. What do you think is the aspect of working with you that your executives are the most surprised about when you're sharing these strategies with them?
I think that I have become, and this is something that a lot of them will share, it's like, okay, it's like a safe place where I can just vent. Not that I'm a therapist, but they feel that it's a safe place that they can come and be like, okay, I feel like a failure on this area, or
Mhm.
I think I'm doing well here, or I really want to do this, but it just seems like I cannot fit that in, and they're feeling safe doing that. Because sometimes you can go to family, you can go to friends, and everybody will have a different approach, a different advice, a different thing to tell you. And sometimes there's judgment. Sometimes,
Mhm.
again, the tone can be different. But me coming not just with what I know, but also knowing that, okay, this is a safe place. Let's talk about it. And then let's figure that out. And then the fact that they are able to become more aware and in tune with what
Mhm.
they want and where they want to start. Because as a coach, I can come up with a plan. And sometimes I do in my head. And I'm like, yep, if I were this person, this is exactly how I will tackle that. But then I'm going to become somebody else that's going to prescribe things to them. And I want to actually empower them so that they can say, okay, like this is important to me and this is where I want to start. Or this is something that has emotional connections, right? Like food. Sometimes food is tied to comfort, or there's a certain thing that is hard for them to let go because it reminds them of their deceased mom, right? Or there's just, it reminds them of like, okay, this is how I was rewarded every time that I did something great. So now this is how I celebrate, or this is what I do when I'm feeling not so great about myself. So exploring all of that in a safe place is something that they say like, "Oh, wow, okay, like you're not," and again, nothing against the medical professionals, but some people feel like, "Oh, the doctor is just telling me you need to do this, this, this. Here you go." Like the marching orders and go. And I'm like, "Well, have grace because sometimes they have a lot of patients to see and they cannot really dissect everything."
Mhm.
But with me, they're able to, okay, these are the things that I should be doing. These are the things that I find harder. I need a strategy. And then we talk. And in the end, the client decides the strategy. I may show what is the cost of doing nothing, which is something that I
Mhm.
like to contrast because a lot of people are like, I'm not ready to make a decision. I'm like, well, you're making a decision by not making a decision.
I love that. Yes.
So you're just making a decision to not do anything. So either you can be proactive and make changes. Now, how intense those changes are, that's something that you can decide based on resources, based on mentally how ready you are, because you have to be ready for a change. But if you decide not to, that is a decision. You're making the decision of sitting and leaving it up to chance. Like, and what is the cost of you not doing anything? So I want you to make sure that you make that decision in a very like eye-opened way that you know exactly, okay, like if I don't do anything for my health and I keep going the way that I'm going, what could happen? And am I willing to
Absolutely.
pay that price? Right?
So, making the choice of not doing something versus making the choice of being intentional.
Exactly.
That is amazing. And I think so relevant to your health, but also to so many other things. The same strategies that you're talking about are strategies that I talk about with people as they're trying to figure out ways to manage their career. And um, it really just pulls through in so many different ways.
Yeah. And it impacts everything, right? Like, obviously, I'm a health coach. I'm going to focus on health, but mental health is there, right? Like
Hmm.
having time with your family, investing in joy, again, the balance. I've had clients that they nutritionally, they're like excellent. It's like textbook meal plan, and they exercise, and yet their stress levels are high, or they lack
Right.
connection. They don't have family around. And when you start seeing that the social connections are not there, that can be a problem.
Absolutely. So, Jenny, I'm primarily speaking to leaders and educators on this podcast. And so that means they are working with teams often. How do you feel like when a leader is able to to do work like this for themselves, like with somebody with you for their own health, how does that impact their teams on an everyday basis?
I think that the more balanced that you are, the fairer you're going to be with your team. And you're going to be
Sure.
able to not just empathize, but also understand that, okay, like I cannot do it all. Right. And I know
Mhm.
a lot of it sometimes comes job security. There's some people that they want to do it all because they're afraid that they're going to be replaced. Right. Like that's like one fear some leaders may have. But just think about how much more loyalty you're going to have with your team when you empower them and you're able to actually identify, okay, this person is actually really good at this. So I can actually delegate, let them shine, let them thrive at what they do best, and the entire team is going to look amazing. And then I am going to look amazing as a leader because now I am building leaders. And that's the difference sometimes with leadership styles. You cannot do it by fear, but more by empowerment. And then, like, your entire team is actually going to have your back instead of being, okay, like, this is the boss that is always snappy and like, okay, and like, I really want to do this and I cannot do this. And all these things that could happen. So finding that balance is going to help you have clarity and it's going to help you
Mhm.
feel secure of yourself as a leader. And you're going to have the mindset to even identify if you're so stressed out, you may have so many people that can help you and you may not even notice them because you're so focused on, I just need to do these 10 things. And yet you may actually have the support to delegate and only do five or monitor and give them that opportunity for them to develop a skill, which if you're everybody's trying to pretty much excel in their career. And when they find that opportunity, they're going to grab it. If they really want to do it, they're going to grab it. So that definitely impacts everything when you're leading.
I also think it's important to highlight that when other people see you make these changes, when they see you put boundaries for yourself, when they see you take, even if it's 15 minutes from lunch as opposed to working through always, that gives them permission to do the same and know that they can take care of themselves too. Because maybe they're also on their own health journey that they're trying to figure out how to prevent whatever that chronic disease that they might have is. And so being able to model that and shift the culture to make that okay is a really important step as well.
Yeah. And I've heard some leaders that they will explore and be like, okay, like every Friday, everybody's going to take a walk and they take a walk as
Mhm.
right? Like, and then
Yeah.
include some sort of movement or even a competition. It's like, okay, everybody's going to try to hit X amount of steps a week.
Yeah.
And then they have a prize or a gift card, something to create that community, which is important, and also build that healthy lifestyle. And again, encourage that balance, right? Like instead of
Mhm.
being like, okay, like you need to be at your desk
Right.
typing and you
Right.
cannot move and it's been 5 minutes that you went to the bathroom. Why is that? Like all
Mhm.
these things, they create that restrictive environment versus, okay, like I need to have those pockets of times to break and find that balance.
Absolutely. So Jenny, on your journey for all of this, what is something that you wish you would have learned earlier that has been really key for you?
Honestly, just that set of boundaries. I used to work every single day. I worked for a global finance company and I had to work pretty much every single day. And since it was global, sometimes you had to join in a call at 10 o'clock at night, sometimes at
Mhm.
7 o'clock in the morning, because again, it's
Mhm.
around the globe and it depended on where the call was hosted and who needed to be in that call. And you add the traveling. And at some point, there was always something. And now I look back and I'm like, if I would have stopped at a certain point, things would have gotten done. But I felt that I just needed to work. I will go to the hotel, take a shower, and here I was with my laptop again until 11 o'clock at night. By the end of the week, I was exhausted. I was gaining weight rapidly. And it was not because of calories in. The whole thing about calories in and out, stress and cortisol levels, that will that will throw a doozy on you and really turn havoc your entire life just because you're just managing and doing it all in a high stress, chronic stress level.
Hmm.
And now I realize I wish I could have said, nope, at 7 o'clock or at 6 o'clock, put clear boundaries. These are my working hours. Do not expect me to answer between these because some managers will expect, and if you're not online, they will actually text you. So that's
Hmm.
almost like crossing that boundary. And I wish I would have established that in the past, and I didn't. And that kind of like came with a cost.
I think that's important, and I will relate that to like what my days look like. Having be able to say, I'm going to, if I'm not on call tonight, I'm turning off my phone so nobody's going to get a hold of me. When I go on vacation, I'm making sure that somebody else is checking my inbox so that I'm not feeling like I have to always be on. Or I do actually put blocks in my schedule so that I have time for lunch or for time to think and get work done without being interrupted. I put blocks on my schedule. Movement is a very important part for me for managing my stress and to make sure I have that time for movement. And so it absolutely relates into my day to day as a physician as well. So Jenny, this has been super helpful, and I love how all of the strategies are really so similar, and it's important to hear them over and over and over again. But if somebody would like to work with you or to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can go to my website and schedule a clarity call if you want to chat. It's www.jennypena.com, or you can find me on Instagram and the handle is Coach Jen P.
That is so wonderful. And Jenny hosts workshops and different webinars along the way and provides easy tools to make this process easy even within your busy life, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. Any last thoughts that you want to share before we close?
I would say I have a podcast. My podcast is Path to Better A1C, but and one thing that I like to do at the very end of every podcast is to give a strategy, something that you can embrace if it fits you, right? But
Hmm.
I would say look at your calendar, and if there is something that you know that you need to start doing, we mentioned a lot of different things. I'm sure that something resonated with you. Either block that calendar or schedule some time with your family or be the initiator of something that will you can do as a community and maybe have a weekly or a monthly walk with your team. Lead
Hmm.
by example. And if you don't have a team, you can still be a leader. You don't have to be in a leadership position to lead a movement or an initiative. Go to your boss, go to your supervisor and share and see if you can find that support and create a change. Whether it's a 15-minute lunch, if that's all you can do, if it is a 10-minute walk after lunch to de stress and go outside, even if it is cold, and find just something that is like 5-10 minutes that you can start with because that may have more impact than you trying to create this 10-year plan with hours and hours of activities. Start with one thing.
I love that. And I think it's important. Whatever is on your calendar is what you're prioritizing. So put it there. I will include all of Jenny's contact information in the show notes. And it's been so lovely to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
It is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our health is the price that we must pay for our careers. But as Jenny reminded us today, not making a decision is still a decision. When we choose to power through at the expense of our health, we are deciding to leave our future and our ability to lead up to chance. For the educators listening, remember that your team is watching you. When you prioritize a 15-minute lunch or a quick walk to reset your cortisol, you are dismantling the powering through myth for everyone under your wing. You are giving them permission to stay human too. And so your strategy for the week, look at your calendar for tomorrow. Find one spot where you've historically powered through. Maybe it's that gap between clinic and a committee meeting, and reclaim just 10 minutes of it. Use it for a protein-heavy snack, a walk, or simply to breathe, whatever it is that you and your healthcare provider have decided upon. Treat it as a non-negotiable clinical appointment with yourself. Connect with Jenny if you are ready to stop powering through and start strategically managing your health. Her podcast, Path to Better A1C, is a fantastic resource for sustainable shifts that fit a busy schedule. And remember, if you have concerns about your health, make sure that you are checking in with your own healthcare clinician. And as always, I put all the links, including the alignment check, in the show notes. Thank you for listening to The Hidden Load. Stop powering through and start powering up. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to The Hidden Load. If today's conversation spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a colleague who might need to hear it too. It's one of the simplest ways we can start shifting the culture of medicine together. And remember, your time spent reflecting here matters. You can earn free CME or CE credits for listening to today's episode through the Pinnacle app. You'll find that link in the show notes. If you are looking for one-on-one coaching support or want to dive deeper into the resources we discussed today, let's connect. You can find information on how to reach me in the show notes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And leave me a rating so that others can find me too. And take care of yourself because you deserve to be held up too. And I'll see you next time.